Going live. And anybody who's in the UK will know what I'm going on about, and everybody else will think I'm completely insane. There's a reason for that. I'm completely insane. The light's not very good in here, isn't it? Hey Siri, please turn the living room lamp on. Bit better. Hello, welcome to my live stream. Let's just check that the chat function is working okay. It seems to be. That's lovely. I will also turn Discord on. I should do that really before I start streaming, but I nearly always forget. And now we'll slow down whilst it downloads. The inevitable update. There we go. Downloading update. Of course it's downloading an update. I mean, you've got to have a Discord update every day, haven't you? I mean, it'd be illegal not to. So I'm going to get on with some writing in a moment. First, I'm going to quickly talk about where I am with it. So I've written what I thought was all but the epilogue of Empress of the Trees. And then I started and I wrote a detailed chapter breakdown for the epilogue, and it suddenly didn't work. The story I want to tell in the epilogue absolutely needs to be told, but there needs to be something before it. So what I've discovered is basically the epilogue was just going to, it's downloading 7 updates now. The epilogue was just going to tell the story of my characters a few months down the line after they've survived what appears like the end of the world. But there were too many. What I found was the moment I mentioned a character, I was then having to explain what happened to them. And then I'd do another bit and explain what happened to them and explain. And I suddenly thought, no. I'm almost sure. So I've created a whole new world which my characters are living in. And yet it's being palmed off. It's being kind of not explained properly. So instead of having an epilogue, which I was thinking was going to be approximately 10,000 words long, I've realised I'm actually going to have to do something a little more than that. So my book is divided at the moment into 4 parts. They are named after the 3 tree norns and what they represent, and they are very relevant to the part of the story. So the first part is called Ursu. Second part is called Veroandi. The third part is called Skuld. The fourth part was called Yggdrasil, but I've now decided to call it Ragnarok, or even Signwolf. I haven't decided that. That might change that part's name. And then the final part is going to be called Yggdrasil. The final part is the new part. It's only going to be 3, maybe 4 chapters long at the most, but it's going to show the new world that my characters live in, because I suddenly realised I was shortchanging everybody by just trying to establish that it was up and running. So it's not going to be a large part of the book. It's going to be, whereas I think I'd allocated myself about 10,000 words to tell the story of the epilogue, I'm probably looking at about 20,000 words instead. So it's not an enormous amount more, but I just feel that starting in the future, where everything's established in the future, just denies me the pleasure of telling you about it. And also, it just doesn't feel right for the characters. So there are some key moments which would have been glossed over. So when Ronnie tells Adrian she's pregnant, when Ronnie finds out that Gordon Oakley didn't survive, a few other bits and pieces like that. I just thought it's all too sudden. It's all, so instead of just doing the epilogue, I'm going to do 2 or 3 chapters, the final one of which will use my chapter breakdown for the epilogue. So that wasn't worthless at all. But what it means is I can, every time somebody's mentioned, I don't have to then nip back and establish what's happened to them, because I've already done it. So I've written about 1,500 words of that epilogue. Probably half of them will end up being edited out now, because I'm going to explain that elsewhere. So before I do a bit of writing, because the other thing I'm trying to set myself goals every month, and my goal was to finish the epilogue for this month, one of them, and that probably isn't going to happen, because I think I'm going to have to write the 2 chapters leading up to it this month. Also, with the 11th already, and I haven't written that much. So I'm going to quickly talk about things I like, things I've been enjoying, and then I shall get on with the writing. Where's the remote control? Oh yeah, I just want to see if anybody's watching. It all goes up on YouTube anyway. Oh yeah, somebody's watching. Hello. Right, so the things I've been enjoying. So firstly, Ollie Alexander's new album. Oh, look, you can see me reflected in it. That's exciting. Yeah, let's hold that in a way that that doesn't happen. The lighting's bad in here, which doesn't help. But Ollie Alexander's new album. Tell you what, let's do that because it isn't as bouncy offy. I got the autographed version. Oh, I've got my hand over his autograph. But so Polari came out. I really enjoyed it. It's a I think I'm probably going to end up liking this more than his previous album. But what I am finding is the first time I listened to it, I was a bit, And then the second time I listened to it, I was like, oh, no, that's really good. And then the third time every time I listen to it, I enjoy it a little bit more. And I do find that when I listen to something and love it immediately, like I did with the previous album, I tend to have a less good of opinion of it down the line. Whereas something that I'm initially like, but then grows on me, which this is doing, I end up tending overall to have a higher opinion of. So, Polari by Ollie Alexander. Oh, I've got it on vinyl, but they did a box, they did a set, so I've even got it on. Look, I'm going to go get this. Look, it's pathetic, but they did a multi-format release through his website. I don't think you can still buy, but look, I have got Polari by Ollie Alexander on cassette. Remember these? I haven't listened to this yet, actually, so I will have to pop that in at some point. But yeah, cassette. I mean, this is like so retro. It's brilliant. So I will. I didn't even know these still existed. So I mean, that is quite a cool way of sharing music, actually. But so yes, I shall listen to that later. In this little box. The other things I haven't listened to them yet, but as you know, I'm a Doctor Who fan, and you will also have heard me talking about a company called Big Finish that create licensed audios, licensed by the BBC. A lot of them are Doctor Who. There's the other stuff they do, but a lot of them are Doctor Who or Doctor Who based. So they've got quite a lot of spin-offs they do. They've done a series based around the Paternoster gang from the 10th and 11th Doctors. Sorry, 11th and 12th Doctors era under Stephen Moffat. I mean, he isn't involved in the audio version, but yeah. And recently, actually a couple of years ago, almost as soon as she finished on TV, they announced that they'd got Joe Martin, who played the fugitive Doctor in the Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall era. And I haven't listened to it yet, but it's finally out there. They've done their first release, The Fugitive Doctor. Have they even got The Fugitive Doctor? It doesn't even say it, but yeah. So they've got the first release of The Fugitive Doctor. It's got Alice Creed in it as well, from the Borg Queen and loads of other bits and pieces. So I'm really looking forward to listening to that. That ought to be dead good. She's superb. And then the other one that arrived the other day, which I'm also really looking forward to, is this one, Doctor Who and the Brain Drain. Now that's a nice little gag, because there is a story which is kind of, everybody calls the Silurians, but it's actually called, the full title is Doctor Who and the Silurians. On the screen, it doesn't come up the Silurians, it comes up Doctor Who and the Silurians. And it was in the first season of Jon Pertwee. And this is set in the first season of Jon Pertwee as well. In fact, I understand, I haven't listened to it yet again, that this is set immediately after Spearhead from Space. It's like the aftermath of that. What's interesting about these is, if you told me how much I loved these 10 years ago, I wouldn't have bought it, because actually the three main cast members from that era are no longer with us. So obviously Jon Pertwee passed in the late 90s. And then more recently, Caroline John, who played Liz Shaw, and the Brigadier, as played by Nick Courtney, all no longer with us. Now, 10 years ago, they've been doing this for 10 years. An actor called, I do know his name, Tim Treloar, did a CD release. They paired him up with Joe Grant and I think a couple of other characters from his era, because there were, when they started recording it, there were a few still with us. So over the years on the Jon Pertwee range, they've had Katie Manning in it. They had Richard Franklin in it, although he's sadly no longer with us. And they've had the guy who played Sergeant Benton. His name will come back to me. They've all been in it, but they've been recording third Doctor audios with Tim Treloar for 10 years now, and they're very, very good. So his voice sounds a little bit Pertwee-ish anyway, and I wouldn't call what he does an impersonation, but he's certainly I suppose it is in a way, they copy the rhythms and stuff, but they're very, you kind of forget now. When I listen to this, I forget. They've also got an actress called Daisy Ashford playing, oh, I've forgotten her name. I just mentioned it was Liz Shaw. And Daisy Ashford is the original actor's daughter, and she sounds remarkably like her. Plus, you've got John Coleshaw playing the Brigadier. So you quite quickly forget you're listening to a Doctor Who story from the 7th series, set during the 7th series, that has got none of the original actors in it playing the original parts, but it still works. And if you told me that 10 years ago, I'd have gone, Because they've also got, so Katie Manning still plays Jo Grant occasionally, and they've got, I can't remember the actor's name, but the actor who plays Sarah Jane Smith, Elizabeth Sladen, her daughter plays Sarah. And again, it's not an impersonation in their cases. Their voices just naturally sound similar. So they've done a really good job with the Third Doctor era. So those are two of the things I'm enjoying at the moment. Right, I'm going to do some writing now. He says, having not opened the file or set it up or anything he should have done. Incidentally, if you scan the QR code in the top right hand corner of the screen, you will see it opens up my link tree, which has got links to all the rubbish I do. So it's got links to websites, social media. I have come off X. The final straw for me was what appeared to be a Nazi salute done by Elon Musk at Donald Trump's inauguration. No, not playing. So yeah, I've come off and deleted my account on there. But other than that, all my social medias are there. And one of the things that's open right now, you heard me moaning about Discord. There's an invitation to join my Discord server, is one of the links on there. And my Discord is open now. There is a live audio channel. So if you want to come in and actually talk to me, you can, if you want to. You don't have to. Somebody genuinely has in the past. That was really nice. So I don't know. I can see there's somebody watching now, but it's not someone who obviously feels comfortable wanting to talk. But that's fine. That's fine. So I'm going to try and do some writing now. So we shall switch to this view. If it works, it'll be terrific. I've forgotten Kendra's surname, so let's just, because she's a less important character. I only kind of decided to give her a surname because I realised that she would have a place. Ugh. I thought I'd named her in there. Okay, so where did I name her? Was it chapter... Dr. Kendra Briley, there we go. I knew I'd named her. Collection. That's got to be a better word. Hey Siri, synonyms for collection.
Synonyms for collection include hoard, pile and heap.
Okay, let me rephrase that. Hey Siri, synonyms for collecting. Cool. See, this feels much more consequential. So when I originally wrote that he'd died in the epilogue, she had known he'd been dead for a few months, and so there wasn't that emotional moment, that impact on her, which his death would naturally cause, because they were very, very close, and he had, well, like he said to other characters, he thought she was amazing and just didn't want to tell her how amazing she thought she was. Oh, I'm just going to go and grab myself a glass of something to drink, and I shall continue any second. Oh. Yeah, this is what I'm writing now is much more emotionally satisfying than just sort of relaying the events third hand down the line. Oh, I have a. I'd suggest as a reader putting a. Possibly. I say this is just a very rough first draft. I finesse it later on. But no, that is a good suggestion. Welcome to my stream. Let me put that back on. Is it Darth Goricorn? Oh, definitely. I mean, I with my characters, I tend to. It depends who they are. So I always have a look. So like Ronnie looks like a very specific character from an episode of Blake's Seven, which is probably, it depends where in the world you're from actually. But it's a very, very bad. No, it's a very well written, very badly executed 70s and early 80s BBC science fiction show. And it's not one of the main. She doesn't look like one of the main characters. I can't even remember which episode it is, but there's an episode where there's this resistance leader that's basically this very young girl with long blonde hair, and Ronnie looks like that. So I'll either do that or I'll decide a particular actor that they are so I can describe them accurately. So, for example, there's an old Scottish man called Carruthers, and that's Peter Capaldi in his wilder hair moments. It depends what you mean by the two newest seasons. Do you mean Flux and then the current season, or do you mean the specials and the current season? I do think you're right. I think the writing. I think Russell T Davies was almost believed in his own myth, and yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence that the better episodes are the ones that he was less involved with. So the one that Moffat wrote. Certainly in the regular season, the one where he's standing on the landmine is good. I wasn't too keen on the Christmas special. Flux I thought was fine. I thought it was a bit long-winded and a bit, well, not confusing, a bit silly in places, but I really enjoyed Flux. and I really enjoyed the specials, the 60th anniversary. Well, I say I really enjoyed them. I thought they were good stories, well told, but then I think they could have done anything with David Tennant and Catherine Tate, and the audience would have absolutely loved it because they are wonderful. They work wonderfully together. The characters are great, and it was nice to see them back. I think in terms of it being a 60th anniversary special. Oh, okay. Yeah, and I haven't enjoyed that current season. I think the biggest problem with it, I think, is the length of it. So like the first season that Russell T Davies wrote, you've got Rose and the Doctor travelling together, and it's a few episodes while they're kind of sounding each other out before they really trust each other. Because you've got 13 episodes that year. This year we had 8, and they moved straight from being people who don't know each other to best buddies, and I didn't believe it. I wanted to see the friendship and relationship grow, and it didn't happen. It was, don't know, you don't know, you don't know, you busy mates. And I just thought it was quite poorly done. And yeah, and I know Rusty Davies is really keen on a Doctor much more in touch with his emotions, but he doesn't need to cry every episode. And that's not to do with the actor, that's a writing choice, I think. So yeah, I'm not massively won over with it. I thought the whole Sutek thing was okay. I quite liked some of the bits and pieces in that 2-part episode. I am enjoying the new unit setup, so I think I'll enjoy the spin-off, The War Between the Land and the Sea. But yes, I think I'll be interested to see where the next season goes, because I think there's a lot more writers. I think they announced the writers recently, and Russell T Davies has personally written a lot less of the episodes, which I think can only be a good thing. So what kind of micro details? I mean, I've only watched the episodes. Normally with Doctor Who I watch them several times, but because I didn't particularly enjoy them, I've watched most of the episodes once. Beyond the first Christmas special, the one where he was introduced. Oh, okay, but that's a Russell T Davies trait. He did that earlier on, and I would say it worked. Definitely worked in the first 4 seasons of the new show, sort of 2005 to 2010. I thought the majority of the time that worked. Again, I think when you've got a lot less episodes to deal with. But what do you mean specifically? Are you talking about? Well, give me one example, if you don't mind. Okay, possible. I mean, I thought as a season it felt. I don't know. It was a weird combination of a bit too light and a bit too heavy. Right. Okay. Yes. I wondered if that was what you were going to say. Yeah, and it was the first thing he filmed as well. You watched the Doctor Who, so yes, I sort of, but I actually think that was one of the better episodes. So yes, it was heavy-handed, but I kind of like the irony. There's this time traveling alien who's just trying to save everybody, and they won't let them because his skin's the wrong color. I didn't think that was that bad. I thought it was quite a brave thing to do, particularly as the actor. Literally, I think it was the first scene he shot was that moment where she says that to him. But yeah, they can't keep doing it. But we shall see. We shall see what they do. I mean, the problem I think with the current season is, I suppose, it's never been done in Doctor Who before, though. Not really. I mean, the closest to that was there's a moment where Ace, in a 1988 story set in 1963, sees a sign hanging from a B&B window that says no colours, and that pisses her off. But and that didn't annoy me. So I don't know. I was it heavy-handed? It was unexpected. I didn't expect them to go there. I don't agree. I don't think it was heavy-handed. I think Prime Doctor Who was the water zombies of the new series. I absolutely agree with you. Waters of Mars is one of my two absolute favourites from the new series that are proper Doctor Who and properly scary like the old series was when I was a kid. The other one I would list was the one with the kid with the face mask going, "Are you my mummy?" Which was called "The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances." Those two, those and Waters of Mars, are the very best that the new series has to offer. I don't think they'll equal that anytime soon from the way they're going, but we shall see. Oh, I just heard the postman arrive. Let's go and see what I've got. Oh dear, nothing exciting. Then for me, Prime Doctor Who is probably the ones I've just mentioned are the best ones of the current of the revived series, but of the original run, I think Prime Doctor Who was the gothic horror kind of Philip Hinchcliffe era. So stories like Genesis of the Daleks, the Mask, the Talons of Wang Chiang, which unfortunately, because of some casting decisions they made, now looks a bit racist. So they've got English people, in makeup to play Chinese people. So that feels a bit off by today's standards, but it's still a cracking story. Then there is The Seeds of Doom, which is the Crinoid one. That's really, really good. Things like, what other really good ones are there from that era? There's loads. Deadly Assassins, really good. Robots of Death. Was he there for that? Yeah, was that year? I'm sure that was that year. I think he was there for 3 years. Yeah, I don't look at things by today's standards. No, that's fair. Oh, I agree with you. I would certainly never not watch The Talons of Weng Chiang, but I can understand why a modern audience who hadn't grown up with it would find it problematic. So whilst I'm not saying I look at it that way, to somebody who's never seen it before, of course they're going to apply their personal standards to it. So I can understand why a younger person would find it problematic. But no, I agree with you. I think you've got to judge things by the time that they came from. That's my favourite classic era of Doctor Who. Although I quite like Peter Davison. There were some really good stories during his final season. Resurrection of the Daleks was great. Planet of Fire was great. Frontios was great. The Awake, basically everything apart from the first and last stories of that season were really, really good. Yeah, I have watched Casablanca, but I didn't. I don't know. It's one of the things a friend of mine has pointed out to me is that he's actually got movies now going back to at least one movie for every year going back to 1925. So he's got 100, because we've got 100 years of movies, which is utterly amazing. I don't know what year Casablanca was. Was it 50s or 60s? Let's just have a look. But what I've decided to do is to try and do something similar. Also, a movie I wish people would watch is The Producers. I have seen The Producers. That's who was because that was obviously he was the actor in it. Let's just find out my first question. When was Casablanca made? 1942. Okay. Is the producer's Mel Brooks? I've got it in my head that that's a Mel Brooks movie. Yes, thought it was. Yeah, no, that is very good. Yes. No, it is a good movie. It's a very good movie. So tell me about, do you obviously you do write because you said about your characters, and with that many characters, I'm guessing is it a fantasy genre? I don't know. That tends to be the genre with lots of characters. Feel free to tell me as much or as little about your writing, and also roughly what part of the world you're from. I'm curious. This time of day, it's very unlikely to be the USA unless it's the middle, or very early in the morning if you're East Coast, or the middle of the night if you're West Coast. So I'm guessing Europe or Asia, but I could be wrong, or Africa. Oh, a god has destroyed itself. What, because of the way humanity behaved? Right. So the old gods of okay. That sounds interesting. And presumably you've got have you got a mixture of normal humans and gods as characters? Yeah, well, mine is it's not. But the thing I'm writing now is it's not in a similar vein, but it's all about, basically it's on the assumption that trees are much more sentient than they really are. In the States, you're just an early bird, so you must be more East Coast then. Because I was say if it was West Coast, it'd be less early bird and more middle of the night. Mind you, it'd only be 4 a.m, so I suppose it could be early still. I think of 4 a.m as almost still part of yesterday. If I have to get up at 4 a.m, which I do occasionally with my job, I feel like I feel like it's still yesterday. Oh, okay. Sounds like a nasty person. A nasty god. A vengeful god. Sutek. No, 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 not really. The god of this boy. So there's lots of the same people, or they keep dying and being respawned? They work over and over again and age slightly only when the gods, deities, demon worthy, untruths existing, to prove without true death. Okay. Also, it's called the collapse of human psyches when placed in rough situations, like when a virus is caught that stops all external agent, internal origin still happens. Ooh, that sounds rather nasty. Yes, that would mess with your head because you'd have a body that looks lovely and youthful and wonderful, and yet inside you're still becoming decrepit and old. And yeah, that would be interesting because the outward signs would suggest you should be vital and yeah. Yes, yeah, I think it would. And this is nice because I've had this character who's an army character, or was an army, and I've thought, although his name is Private, he was Private Adrian Vickers. I've always referred to him as Vickers, whereas now he's not in the army. I've started referring to him as Adrian. Also, the social interpretation of people not knowing or being willing to recognise their age, causing them. Yep, that makes sense as well. How old is your liver? So where does this story start off? Well, I'm literally writing the very end now. This is supposed to be the epilogue, only I realised that the epilogue would have rushed too many events. So the point of the story is trees. Obviously, in real life, they do have these communication strands called mycelia, fungal strands that they use to talk to each other. So the idea of the book is, let's just say they're a lot smarter than we know, but they're actually a massively intelligent hive mind, and they're not very happy with what the human race has done or is doing to the atmosphere of the planet. So they give us an ultimatum: sort it out, humans, or we'll stop breathing for 2 years. We'll survive, you won't. And they have ambassadors, they have people that are there to deliver the message, they have ways of proving they can do what they say they can do. And as a result, and they do this all around the world to all the governments, and as a result, everybody starts arguing and bickering about what should be done. A load of governments are overthrown when they introduce these what seemed like radical green policies that weren't in their manifestos. Some countries descend into civil war. And in the end, the trees go, you know what? We tried. We gave you a chance. You're clearly not going to do this. And so they carry out their threat and they wipe out the majority of the Earth's population. They allow a certain number to survive. And the bit I'm writing now is where where my main character has just woken up in this, I'm not going to say post-apocalyptic world because there are survivors, but certainly it's the new world. There are less than 800,000 humans left on the planet. Yeah. Hey Siri, synonyms for mentally.
Synonyms for mentally include in the one's mind, in the one's brain, and in the one's head.
Okay. Let's lose that and just put that there. Mental barricades. Possibly. this is the first time this character, Ronnie, has ever... She's been so focused on it. She was basically one of the ambassadors for the trees. She's done some absolutely appalling things to get humanity to survive. She's murdered people in cold blood on one occasion, and just done whatever she had to do to get the human race to survive. And this is the first time she's ever showed any vulnerability, and it's quite a moment actually, because she's not a girly girl. She's ruthless, but because she had to be. So it's not out of character. That potential was always there, but this is the first time she's been able to just switch off everything else that's happened and just go with it. Right, okay. What time is it? Oh, my blinds are being fitted in about 20 minutes, so I'm going to have to go. But that's good. That's another 1,500 words written. That's that scene written. I'm winging it a little bit now, I've got to admit, because I had a detailed chapter breakdown for the epilogue and then realised it was all these moments that I was missing by just doing an epilogue set 5 months down the line. So I'm pleased with that. I'm very pleased. I might even do some more later, actually. Whether I'll do it as a live stream or not, I don't know. Right, so that will do me for today. I'm going to sign off. As I say, there is a chance I'll come back later, because the next scene she's going to get reunited with Carruthers, Ursula and Marianne. And again, I need to work out how the Marianne scene is going to work, because that's going to be another very special moment. But it's going to be tinged with sadness, because it sounds like Marianne is struggling with their mental health, with everything that's happened. Anyway, Darth Goracorn, thank you so much for your feedback and for chatting with me. I genuinely, one of the reasons I do this online is because I love having conversations and bits and pieces with people that are watching. And yeah, I will come back either later today. Tomorrow I'm busy. Yeah, you too. You've got a lot more of it left than me, from the sounds of it. I'll either come back today, probably not tomorrow. The next time you'll see me, or anybody will see me, will probably be from Singapore, because the reality is, unless I do one this evening, I'm busy tomorrow. I've got to sleep during the day on Thursday in preparation for the night flight into Singapore. So possibly Friday or Saturday, live from a hotel room in Singapore. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for feedback, and I'll be back at some point soon. Take care. Bye-bye.